welcome. You made it. What have you been doing this week? I'm drinking the same wine from literally the same bottle that I was drinking last week because it takes me forever to finish wine. Let me know if the sound is weird. We're trying to figure out why I've got muddy sound. We don't know if it was because the mic was turned or I was a little far from it. It's tech. I'm doing the best I can. Hi, everybody. Wolf and Enlighten. So we have, just so you know, we have some mods now. So we have Enlighten as a mod, we have Let's Get Sewing as a mod, and we have Jesswag as a mod. And I made them mods without telling them beforehand. And then I sent them messages and I was like, hey, I may need some mods. So if you are here to start some shit, this is the perfect week to do it because now I have mods. So let me tell you why I think that might happen. So Twitter, I was on Twitter, and I don't know what you guys call it, but I'm calling it Twitter. I was on Twitter this week, and some goofball, I don't know how these people get into my feed, but some goofball said, female, of course, not that there aren't male goofballs, said that abortion needed to be legal because pregnancy can cause death. And all I said was, if you're basically in around, I mean, I've had many interactions, so it's something like this. All I said was, if you are concerned about pregnancy resulting in death, it would be better to be sterilized because if you're sterilized, you don't have the risk of pregnancy at all versus abortion, where, if you're afraid pregnancy is going to kill you, you have to be pregnant to get an abortion. So the risk of you literally, figuratively dying in your own, this risk that you believe exists, that pregnancy is a terminal condition or could be a terminal condition, is in your head. And if this is a real fear of yours and you never intend to get pregnant, then the safest thing and the best way for you to avoid this perceived risk of death would be to get your tubes tied, because then you don't have to risk pregnancy at all. And that seemed like sound medical advice to me. What I forgot was that I was talking to completely irrational people, and it can cost life too, right? And so I never gave a pro-life stance. I just said, if it is your true belief that pregnancy can result in death, which pregnancy is not a terminal condition. And I think I said that too. Pregnancy isn't a terminal condition, just like appendicitis isn't a terminal condition. Can you die from complications of appendicitis? Without question. Can you die from complications of pregnancy? Yes, doesn't happen a lot, but yes, you absolutely can. But it is not a terminal condition. I haven't been allowed back in since the purge. Hey, Gypsy Princess. And so these women proceeded to lose their minds and become completely irrational. And what's funny about this to me is I'm just kind of male wired in many ways. I'm not dramatic. I'm very pragmatic. I think things through, and I don't like cause fights for attention. If I need attention, I just say, hey, I need attention. And I'm just not dramatic in that way. And in most ways, actually. And Dawn would tell you that. And so these women lost it. And so one woman said, yes, they're nuts. I didn't realize it was this bad, I guess, because I had made such a rational comment. I thought, well, this is obviously rational. And so they'll just, either look at it and say nothing or look at it and say, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know what I was thinking. Obviously, I'm not rational enough to realize how irrational some people are. And so one woman, sends me this link to this woman who had a missed abortion, which would be a miscarriage that wasn't complete. I don't want you to die. And was denied a D&C when she went to the hospital. Now, I don't know the whole story here. And apparently she went home, she got an infection, which of course you would. And I have had to have this procedure done in this situation. It's not an abortion, it's a D&C if you're early on. But it does abort the pregnancy, but the pregnancy is it's a missed abortion anyway. You've lost the fetus. What's left is the little products of conception, right? So you're not actually killing the baby. That's already happened. And it's very unfortunate. And so these people were like, and this woman went on to get sepsis. And I'm like, okay, none of that happened because she didn't get an abortion. It happened because the people in the ER were idiots, didn't do an ultrasound to make sure she didn't have any retained products of conception, and do a DNC, a dilation and curettage, to scrape the uterus and get those out. And so she went on to develop a serious infection, almost died, and now potentially cannot have any more children. Well, of course, we're all against that. We're not idiots. And she's like, you just want women to die. And I'm like, yeah, you caught me. And then I get she says she's a retired nurse, and I'm sure they're looking up my nursing license. And so I had some of these videos up on my feed. If you don't follow me, it's at Witthealth Coach. And I thought they're absolutely going to find my Rumble channel and come be a total pain in the ass, because they were a total pain in the ass here. They may not think it's worth their time, but you know how these things go. And so I thought, okay, well, if that's going to be the case, I'm not having people mess up my chat, because my chat is one of the better chats. So I participate in other chats on other channels. And what I notice is in those chats, people just post comments. They don't really talk to each other, which is what the chat is for. So like if you're in my chat or you're in Red Pill's chat, there's a conversation going on about the topic or other things in the chat. It's its own entity, really. But in a lot of other rooms, that's not the case. People are just putting up comments like to the hosts who don't read them. And there's no back and forth, and the chat's not any fun. And so I'm like, I'm not going to let these harpies ruin my chat. And so this one woman gets on and she says that by suggesting a tubal ligation, so sterilization to avoid the pregnancy that she's afraid is going to kill her, that she keeps taking abortificants for, if she's really scared pregnancy is going to kill her, then she wouldn't want to get pregnant at all, and sterilization would be better. And so then she says, yeah, exactly, Janik. Then she says, I just want her to mutilate her body. And I'm like, how is sterilization mutilating your body? All they do is a little laparoscopic procedure. They go in, they cut out a little section of each fallopian tube, burn the ends shut, end of story. End of story. That's it. Well, I read the chat, but if you're in a room much bigger than mine, if you're on a channel much bigger than mine, the host doesn't read the chat. Like Salty doesn't read his chat. He reads the paid comments. Same with Chicks. Chicks on the right don't read any of their chat on Rumble. So no, they're not reading your chat. They're doing their show. I just have a small group, so I'm able to do that. So yeah, if you think they're reading that chat in those where the chats are busy, where they've got a bunch, of people in the chat, no, they're not. Some people might, but most do not. So anyway, she's convinced that I want her to mutilate her body. What is interesting to me is she is okay causing the separation of the placenta. Well, there's not really a placenta yet if she's doing it early on, but she's okay with the mutilation of that coming. I'm like, just because you can't see the damage doesn't mean there's damage. Every time you get pregnant and a baby implants in the uterus, then you take an abortifacient that comes off, even if it's just a, very, very early pregnancy, that comes off and a little scar is left on the uterus. And this can cause all kinds of problems. We know that there's a higher risk of breast cancer. We know that there is a higher risk of uterine cancer, all kinds of issues, right? And so I'm like, look, if you are honestly saying that you don't want to get pregnant because you might die from it, then the best way not to get pregnant is sterilization. And so she's insisting that this is mutilation. And I'm like, no more than taking an abortifacient every time you get pregnant. And this is what bothers me, is it is so disingenuous. Just be Bill Maher and say, look, yes, it's murder, but I'm okay with that. Because that is a logical, rational, well, it's not logical, but it's a rational point of view that I can then say, okay, I don't agree with that. But that at least makes sense. This idea that a tubal ligation is mutilating your body and frequent abortificants and abortions aren't. because you can't see the damage because it's inside is just stupid. And if you are here and you said that and you're just lurking, you're stupid. I'm trying to enlighten you. I'm trying to tell you. And so then I had people, well, what if the mother, I mean, just the most ridiculous stuff. What if the mother had a clotting disorder? Then you would just expect her to go through with the pregnancy and bleed to death? Well, I can't even answer that because as a nurse, I'm like, okay, well, what kind of clotting disorder? What kind of clotting disorder would she have that we couldn't treat? And if she's got a clotting disorder and abortion's your answer? She's not going to bleed with that? And so some of them were just so stupid. And I'm like, you are just too ignorant to answer. And so this went on and on. And so finally I just started blocking these people because they were completely irrational. I'm like, look, the premise of your argument is that pregnancy is lethal. So many women, 1,200 women a year die from pregnancy. And I'm like, no, 1,200 women a year die from pregnancy-related complications or something else while pregnant. It may not have even necessarily been pregnancy, drug abuse, blood clot, all kinds of things, right? Summer says, these are the so-called Karens. Yesterday and today I made the same mistake on the Israel question, and oh boy, it's not good for us. I just got angry trying to rationalize. Right, you're just trying to have a rational conversation. And I'm like, look, you don't have to be irrational. Just say that it is nearly a religious belief for you, and it brings you pleasure to take an abortifacient. Because this woman was like, well, I shouldn't have to get sterilized to keep somebody from invading my body. This is how crazy, right? And so finally, what I posted on Twitter before I started blocking these harpies was for everyone coming at me over saying pregnancy is a self-limiting condition. Oh, that was the other thing. I'm like, look, you don't need to kill the child because pregnancy is one of the only diagnoses that is self-limiting. It's over in 9 months. I mean, like as opposed to cancer or whatever else. It's over no matter what. So if you don't want a baby, in 9 months, the baby will be out and the problem is solved. Or if you have some life-threatening condition that happens past the point of viability, that baby can be delivered. It doesn't have to be torn apart, limb from limb. No one has to die in that situation. And you don't have to take the baby home. But they actually want to murder. That's it. That's the only right. If she's got a clotting disorder, get sterilized. There would be much less risk for serious blood loss with one sterilization than with a lifetime of abortions as birth control. That's all I was trying to say. But again, they're freaking insane. Or use a contraceptive, which you might not be able to do with a clotting issue. And then again, we're back to sterilization. And if these women absolutely don't ever want to be pregnant, don't want this, what they call it, parasitic pregnancy. If you don't want that, just get sterilized. Then you can have sex. I mean, these abortifacient drugs are $300 to $700. Wouldn't it be cheaper just to get sterilized one time? But I'm the insane lunatic. So I said, for everyone coming at me over saying pregnancy is a self-limiting condition that ends in 9 months, screaming that women die from pregnancy, save your breath. You aren't getting abortions because you're scared of dying from pregnancy. Give me a break and get a tubal ligation. Well, as you can imagine, that did not go well. I am on Rumble on Fridays. It is Friday. So there was that. Then there was, okay, so the other thing, this is my other rant. So I had this person, I'm not going to tell you who she was, contact me because she wanted me to come on her channel, her show, her website, whatever it is, and talk about my near-death experience. And so she sent me this email to ask me to do this. And in this email, she said that the goal of her site was that she believes that women are going to save the world. And that, in order to do this, we, down with the patriarchy, basically. And so I answered her message back and it did not go well. So I'm going to read some of this to you. So this person's like, hey, I saw your account on your near-death experience, loved your story. I believe your message regarding the power of our thoughts and the love you experienced during your NDE. Apparently, she only heard what she wanted to hear from my story. So she said she recently started a podcast focusing on women's spirituality outside of traditional religions. Oh, dang it. There it is. So she says, exposing ourselves to many different women who find way of expressing their spirituality. Okay. I just want you to kind of take this in with me. So she's not talking about a path following God. She's talking about an inner journey of self. So it's not really spirituality in the God sense, right? Which is what I'm talking about. So we're talking about completely different things. I can see it already. So she says, we first have to shake loose of our training that keeps us small and obedient to patriarchal rules and tradition. Well, you guys know me. I'm like, well, that's a load of shit. Your story is so beautiful and honest, and your message regarding our thoughts is so powerful. I'd love to have you on the show in sisterhood. And then her name, right? And so I respond with something that completely rocks her world. And if I'm not posting your comments, don't fret because I'm reading and I can't see them. Hold on, I'm gonna pop this one. It must be the side effect of the solar eclipse or Mars in retrograde. I love you all. So here was my response, which I felt was very rational. No one takes these feminists seriously anymore. It was just so funny. I'd never had a feminist contact me. I've dealt with them in the wild, but never like in my email. So this was kind of funny. So I said, hi, so-and-so. Doggone it, I did it again. Okay, let me find it here. I didn't want to show it because I didn't want to let out any of her information because, she didn't sign up for me sharing all of this on my show. I said, thank you so much for your kind email. There is certainly much spiritual work to be done on this earth, and discernment is in short supply. Sadly, I think women blame many of their problems on the patriarchy, when in truth, men have done so much for women and so much to advance civilization as a whole. I believe placing blame rarely brings spiritual or societal advancement. Taking responsibility is how we bring change. Deeming patriarchy as the problem keeps us from embracing our God-given, God-designed feminine power and sway. I am in awe of God's wisdom in creating the complementary roles that men and women play in the physical and spiritual aspects of life. It is the core of His design and plan. The breakdown is in the rejection of these natural complementary roles. Our Father in heaven is a beautiful example of the paternal, patriarchal love we all innately need and desire. While I do agree, she'd made some comments about churches. While I do agree that some churches deliver a message that isn't in line with the true nature of God, I believe many others do an incredible job discipling their parishioners and tending to the needs of the community. So I worry my views may be a bit too traditional for your channel. I will not be offended if this is the case, as we all have a path to walk and a role to play. I'll be interested in your thoughts. So you can see where this is going. I did see the eclipse where I was. It got very dark and kind of weird, but I've seen many eclipses. So, well, not many. I've seen a few. So then she responds back, and it is so funny. Thank you for your thoughtful response. Here we go. I went back and watched your video again to make sure I didn't confuse you with someone else. Nope, that's me, all right. She's still trying here. I still think your NDE was beautiful, and the insights you shared are incredibly valuable. I appreciate having discussions like this, as it's important to understand each other. I think one of the greatest missteps humanity makes is saying, this is what I believe. It's the truth. So it's the only truth. No, I'm like, there is only truth. There's not your truth and my truth. There is truth, and then there is our experience. So while you may have a different experience of the patriarchy than I do, patriarchy just means father's rule. That's literally what that means. Now, we may all experience that differently, but the truth of that is what we're debating here. So it's the only truth, and you and I have to believe it too. I see a lot of that in today's discourse regarding religion, and it's very dividing. You made me re-examine my language and thought patterns. Since many of the NDEs I watch find traditional religion too confining, I assume all of them do. In the light of a near-death experience, every religion is too confining, because every religion is going to pale in comparison to being in the presence of the actual God. So that's not a flaw. That's just what it is, right? Though there are flaws with religion, I agree. She says she had a direct experience, never had a direct experience with God. Oh, wait, no. Hold on. I assumed all of them do. Oh, she assumed all religions are like that. I did not have an NDE, but a direct experience of God through a different path. And she was all female and absolutely breathtaking. The encounter, she may have had a spiritual experience with a female spirit. I don't know. I do believe there is a feminine face of God that has been rejected and ignored. I do believe she is reemerging in the world today, and I have found that to be the truth many others are living as well. The truth many others are living. You mean the experience. I find that fascinating and inspiring. I do remember that your experience of God was male, but I've also listened to enough NDEs to know that varies. And then she talks about maybe it's just each person's different experience, right? So then she says, also, being someone who supports women and lobbies for their equality does not mean I hate or look down on men. You wouldn't think so by reading her blogs. And I'm not going to mention her name again. 8 billion, none more valid than others. Also being someone who supports women's and lobbies for them. She's not looking down on men. Being honest about a system that was set up by men for men because women and people of color were considered property, not humans, enables us to examine and change parts of the system that don't work. This really irritates me because Black people are men. There are male Black people. So when I say men built this country, I mean all men. I don't mean men of a certain color. All men built this country. And she says that because this system was set up by men for men. That is such bullshit. These men had families, right? They had wives, they had sons, they had daughters. They were setting up this country not only for themselves, but for their families and for future generations. So this is a lie. If somebody says that to you, it's a lie. Like the men would not consider the needs of their family when doing all of this. Then she tells me that her religion, is an issue. She was raised Catholic and all the pedophilia. I don't disagree. And then she's like, I still would like to have you on my show. And she says, my goal is to share as many different ways of expressing our spiritual selves as females as I can. Now, I can't just speak to females because we are all humans. And so that bothers me. I mean, I would speak to all females, but I would represent both sides of it. The only thing I won't promote is today's Christian nationalism, which I believe is dangerous and does not have love at its core. So she is all for women, right? This is her story. She's all for women. And the only religion that she could not espouse would be Christian nationalism. But religions who put women in an inferior role, I'm not going to name any, but I'm sure we could think of them, like where you're not allowed to have your face uncovered, or where if you're a woman and you've got a 7-year-old boy, he has authority over you, you don't have authority over him, and you can't drive, or you can't drive without a shep. Those are all fine in her progressive view of what needs to happen for women. Those are fine. But Christian nationalism, which would allow women to work and decide to procreate or not procreate, to vote, all these, that's out the door, because that's the worst thing for women ever. And I'm thinking that she's divorced because she only mentions that she has children, but doesn't mention that she has a husband. And I'm like, in some faiths, not Christian nationalism, I don't even know what that is, you would be stoned to death. So you wouldn't even be making this podcast. But those religions are just fine. This is how irrational women have gotten. Not all women, but I'm just over it. Christian nationalism is a buzzword. Right. What Christian nationalism really means, it's not a religion. This is an insult. It's a slur by the left, or attempted a slur. I don't consider it offensive. Is people who are Christians who would vote for Trump. That's what it means. That's what it means. So she's not okay with that because that would somehow be oppressive to the women who can make the choice and vote or not for him. Do you see what I'm saying? This is absolute lunacy. But the other religions that wouldn't allow her out of the house to vote and would put her 7-year-old son in charge of her, and she would have no free agency at all, those are just fine. And it's such bullshit. It's such backward, stupid, woke thinking that I just can't not say something. I'm just that person. I just can't do it, right? So now we've got the patriarchy and we've got Christian nationalism, and that's where we leave off. There's only a couple more. So I say back, I guess having a near-death experience showed me that we are first and foremost humans. We like to divide ourselves into little categories and otherize the rest. This is extremely problematic. In my experience, God is neither male nor female, but more so all. I interpreted God as male based on the characteristics shown to me, but in reality, God is actually the mind of the Trinity. You understand that we are made in the image of God. That refers to our own triune nature. We are mind, body, and spirit. In relation to the Creator, God is the mind, Jesus would represent the body, and the Holy Spirit, the spirit. Some faiths acknowledge only God and spirit and say we are made in God's image, but that would be incorrect in my estimation. If we are truly made in the image of God, we would need to be all three, mind, body, and spirit. Now, on to the male-female conversation. This is where it gets a little spicy. While men played a large role in the founding of most things, they also bore the responsibility, pain, and heartbreak of that. It's easy to throw stones, but we forget the tireless work men do. My husband, for example, works out in the elements year-round, pouring rain, working, high winds, working, bitter cold, working, blazing heat, working. Additionally, the company he works for has never had a woman apply for that job. I guess it frustrates me that we say we want all things equal. This is a fallacy because we don't see women courting the worst jobs. We are okay to let men do the coal mining, logging, working on oil rigs, sanitation work, frontline fighting, etc. Then we malign them with words like evil patriarchy, as though they are somehow less human than we are because they were tasked with setting much of what we have today in motion. I read one of your blogs on boys insulting boys by comparing each other to girls. You talked about how that hurts girls. I love this. You're not even the victim in this situation and you're complaining. Such a girl thing to do. I appreciate your offense at this, but try instead imagining you are the boy in that situation. Such a high standard is set for boys. You get hurt, you can't cry. You're treated unjustly, you can't complain. You run slower, you're somehow less male. While we sit around enjoying female company and the affirmation that comes with it, we malign them. Then we say we want men to adopt traits more traditionally considered female. For example, we demand emotional vulnerability, long talks, etc. Things they've been trained from birth not to do. Then we blame and marginalize them for not being more female in their characteristics. They get it from both sides. I guess for me, what it amounts to is a sort of victim mentality. That mentality is bondage. We as women want to do and think and say whatever we like with no fallout, while we judge every advancement and institution painstakingly built by men. It's easy to sit in judgment once all the hard work is done. This is not to say that we haven't made significant contributions. We have. But no one is tearing us down and criticizing us for those accomplishments or how we went about them, or referring to all the ways we have worked to progress this world as the evil matriarchy. Do we need some things to change? Sure. I'd just like to see us engage in that process with men. Son of a gun, I did it again. There we go. I'd like to see us acknowledge that it was largely the men who were first in line to give their lives for this country. They were the ones willing to climb the beams of skyscrapers and potentially fall to their deaths to get them built. They stormed the beaches at Normandy. They died building the Hoover Dam. They handled the outlaws. They protected the women, on and on. And now we as women have little more than criticism and derision rather than exercising some grace and acknowledging that we have almost exclusively benefited from all that men built. One last thing on religion and the traditional roles for women being ones of service. She was upset because women aren't allowed to be priests in the Catholic faith. But there are many faiths where women are allowed. She could go there, but no, she'd rather just complain. One last thing on religion and the traditional roles for women being ones of service. You seem to think of that as somehow less. The role of leadership is no more important than the role of service. And I would submit that the role of service is actually more important. It's in how you look at it. My mother-in-law was from Argentina. She'd be 100 years old now if she were alive. She died at 92. She had degrees in pharmacy and K-12 education, as well as a seminary degree, which was very unusual in her day. She was a wife and a mom, and she was also a teacher and worked in pharmacy and worked in partnership with my father-in-law in many ways. She served endlessly and joyfully, and I can tell you she made a far greater impact on the world and the people in their circle than my father-in-law did in his leadership role as a pastor. We must not minimize the incredible impact of service. It is service to each other that changes hearts and minds. Leadership, in the in-charge sense, doesn't accomplish the changing of hearts and minds as well as service does. So we must ask ourselves, has the role of women truly been subordinate? Or have we been changing the world for the better through our feminine power and our incredible gifts in the area of serving others? I think we have. So she responds back, and that's the end of it. Hold on. Well, no, it's almost the end of it. Hold on. Let me check your comments. Oh, goodness. Hold on. Where are we here? Our patriot. And people who are for the good of the USA are patriots and are Christians, yes. A nation is a group who all descend from a common ancestry. You can't have a nation based on a religion. The Jewish nation is based on a religion and both common ancestry. Cats 4, hi honey, I haven't seen you before. I can't get your Rumble episode number 8, Heaven Stormed, to play. Do you know if anyone else had problems getting it to play? I'll have to look. I'll look at that. It should be playing. It might have been still uploading, so you might try it again. It takes a little while to upload. Yeah, Christian nationalist. Yeah, Enlighten says you might have to try it a couple times. I just want to catch up on your comments because it's hard to get them up. I believe there might be a feminine figure in God the Father. Well, we are created in the image of God, so our feminine characteristics would have to come from God, right? But that doesn't make God female or male. God is mind. God is the all-knowing, when you're talking about the triune God, Jesus is the physical manifestation, spirit is spirit, and then you have God who is the mind, the creator of everything. And so he would have to embody all characteristics because we're in his image and all characteristics are necessary for each of the sexes. And men have the same sorts of characteristics as we do to a lesser or greater degree. And we have some of the characteristics of men to a greater or lesser degree. It's just in how we end up expressing that. The son is the feminine. God created male and female. Yes. Yes, you're right. The Hebrew does have the female pronoun associated. Yes. Watch the recording for 7 as 8 as I missed portions. It's on YouTube. Yeah, it is on YouTube as well. Okay, let me see where we're at. Okay. There's no hidden feminine figure there. Okay. Then, so she messages me back, and she's getting progressively less happy and probably less likely to have me on. This has been very eye-opening, and I thank you for that. I always like when my assumptions are challenged, as I believe an open mind is the most valuable tool we possess. It sounds like you're very certain in your beliefs, and I respect that. However, I prefer to remain much more open-minded. Like, I considered all of your beliefs. I wasn't closed-minded. I just disagree with them. She respects your description of the Trinity. Sounds like something you were either taught, experienced, or believe in. Now, if I believed what she believed, that would be truth. But because I believe what I believe, it can't be a natural truth. It has to be something I was taught or I just happen to believe. Do you see how there are these little cutting remarks? And I'm like, you want to talk about microaggressions? Here we go. It's not her experience. She says she can respect it without a need to find me wrong. And I agree wholeheartedly. We know a thumbnail of what the scope of our existence is and how it pertains to the Creator. And I would never assume that what I believe is all that there is to believe, unless you're a Christian nationalist. She didn't say that part. My biggest question is always, is the core of this love and acceptance? And if not, I'm out. I'm very happy to let people believe whatever they believe, as long as it refrains from judging others as being wrong. Let people believe. So she's somehow now in control of what you believe. She's willing to allow you to believe that. There's no allowing. People believe what they believe. And she's from Chicago, just so you know. So she probably never met a non-feminist in her life. The only exception is if what you believe is teaching you to hate or judge others, like stoning somebody who would have a divorce, throwing somebody off a building who would be homosexual. Otherwise, feel free to believe whatever you choose. Oh, well, thank you for that. Because the truth is, who can prove who wrong? It's impossible. I agree. Now, your take on history is interesting, to say the least. You're a very good advocate for males. That's your path, and I pose no judgment. And then here comes the judgment. You paint a very rosy picture of the building of our country, leaving out the enslavement of people of color who helped build it, and the fact that women weren't allowed full participation in society or the building of it. This is a subject much too vast for a short email. I understand your views, but I also know they are only a fraction of the story. Then she gives me the definition of patriarchy. So you just should type right after that, "Here, stupid." If you've read everything I've written so far, it's obvious that while you might think I'm misguided, I'm not stupid. So she defines patriarchy, acknowledging that this is what our country, religions, and most of the world was founded on is not for argument. I didn't argue. I just said it wasn't a bad thing, or not entirely bad. It's factually correct. Acknowledging it so we can move forward in a more inclusive manner just feels right to me. And there's your problem. Everything you do is based on how you feel. You think that truth is based on how you feel, and it is not. The truth does not care about your feelings. We fundamentally disagree on many things. You see the world through your eyes and experience. It's vastly different from my experience. It does not mean yours is right or better. I never said it was. Anyway, then she kind of moves off of having me on the show, and then I finish with the last thing that she does not respond to. Children of God are born as people are born through hearing and receiving the word of God through faith. Yes, born of the flesh, then born again of the Spirit. When they come with people of color argument, my brain just starts, well, I have an answer for that. I said, I didn't mention many things, as there are so many things to mention. Our conversation, and see, this is where you have to rein the irrational feminist in. Our conversation began with spiritual matters and women and the patriarchy, so I kept it to that. I included my view of how men seem to get only criticism these days from women because the conversation is always so one-sided, with men being the villains. And let me tell you something, you guys. I Googled, what good have men done? And I could not find one positive link. Not one. Not one. That's how one-sided it's become. So yes, I do see it as on me to take up for the male humans of this world. With the men being the villains, I rarely hear women acknowledge that men have contributed a great deal of good to the world. I do, however, find extensive complaints of how they've messed it all up. Things are rarely so one-sided. My points were an attempt at balance. We cannot get where we need to go without cooperation, and that comes with accepting that everyone has fallen short. We can acknowledge the historical imbalances without castigating one gender for the whole mess. Also, when I said men built much of what we enjoy today, I did not say white men. I said men, which means men as a collective. I don't feel the need to separate those two things out, as I think is accurate, right? I didn't say only white men or black men didn't do it, but she automatically took it that way. For many, many years, women were largely happy to leave the building and such to men, as women tended to the important work of family, home, and building a civilized world. This isn't a criticism, it's just reality from those times. We grow, we learn, we become more involved and active in the things around us. We can see this with women in the workforce and elected positions. Women's suffrage was an incredible bit of activism on the part of women. As far as slavery, I wasn't attempting to give a complete history, simply trying to attend to your points. As for my own views, they are my own. I don't force them on others, as each person is here to sort themselves out and be of service to the world at large. I try to remember that my existence is small, and there are certainly bigger things afoot than what I attend to in my little corner of the planet. I feel people should be unencumbered in their expression of spirituality and worship, as long as they are not causing physical harm to others. I don't endorse religion, but rather a personal walk with our loving Creator. I think knowing we are part of something bigger keeps our own self-importance in check, reminding us we are here for the purpose of showing God's love to a hurting world, not your own spirituality walk, right? That's not what this is supposed to be about. I am so pleased that you are working with matters of spirit and mind. Truly, this is the key thing we all need to learn. We are spirits inhabiting a body for a short time, and we want to do our very best. Abundant blessings. And that's where the whole thing stops. So hold on, I'm going to try to catch up on your comments here. Well, son of a... Hold on. Enlighten, where did you find episode 8? It's on the playlist. So just go to playlist for Heaven Stormed, and number 8 should be there. I feel sorry for men sometimes. I do too. I don't understand why, but sometimes I have to search Rumble on web browser. We're still looking for this. Gotcha. Yeah, do it on the web browser. You're not going to find it on the app, I don't think. Okay, so there was that. So that was my other, that's my other rant for the week. I'm just so over it. I did try Googling Rumble and tried on DuckDuckGo, but no luck. Hold on, Cats. Let me see if I can get you a link. Husband? Okay, good. Just making sure there's not a creeper there. Heaven Stormed. Well, I left the door unlocked so you could get in because I thought your hands would be full. Sweet, but when you're in there on the phone, on the computer, and you don't know who's coming through the front door. Well, there is that. I guess that's why you say husband. Right. That way I've got time to get up and run, try to get to the gun before you get to me and blow your head off. Welcome home, babe. Hold on a second. I'm like, yeah. It's like the guy from, what is that? Karate Man, bleed on the inside, bruise on the inside. Yeah. Oh, happy Friday. Happy Friday, babe. Okay, I'm trying to find this. Here's episode 8. Yeah, it's all there. Let me get the link for you. Copy. Close that. Come back over here. And I don't know if you can copy it from the screen. Here you go, love. That should work. Oh, man. It won't let me post a link. I don't know if that'll open or not. My email is in the description section. So shoot me an email and I'll send you the link. And that should fix it. I am blessed I have a husband. I'm very blessed to have a husband. Hi, folks. I didn't always have a husband. I've met many years alone raising kids. And I was alone for most of my life. What are you talking about? I'm just making stuff up. You are just making stuff up. How was your day? Good? Good. Yeah, good. Crazy busy. Crazy busy. That's all right. Just up in the air a lot, on those lifts, boom lifts. Yeah. It's Mr. Gray. Okay, guys. So the next thing I've got for you, the actual show, now that I've spent almost an hour ranting. So today, this lady posted this on Twitter. My daughter is mad at me and just informed me that when she dies, her last words will be, "My mom is a loser." And so I answered back, tell her that's stupid, you would obviously duct tape her mouth before killing her. Duh. I don't think, I mean, aside from one incident with my oldest son, I don't think my kids have ever said anything really horrible to me. But that was the one really horrible thing that my oldest son said that I won't repeat. Everybody says hi, babe. Okay, so we do have some news to get to, and then the rest of the show is just funny stuff. So I wanted you guys to hear this. What I did not so if you guys don't know, there is a binder that President Trump has had. I don't know what the current status of it is, that has all of the Crossfire Hurricane stuff in it. And what the Crossfire Hurricane stuff is all the proof that Hillary Clinton and the DNC and everybody else who was involved set up this fake story of the Russian prostitutes peeing on Trump and all this stuff, right? That he was somehow colluding with the Russians, and all of the proof that they did all of that and spied on him and took down Carter Page, all that stuff. All of that is in the Crossfire Hurricane binder. So it has been my theory ever since the feds raided Mar-a-Lago that they were looking for that binder because they want to shut that up. Today, I heard this. I'm just going to set it up for you. I don't like to spend a lot of time setting up something you can just watch. But it turns out that I'm just going to let you listen to it, and then I'll pull out the points.
So here's what happened that led to the raid of Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump had documents from his presidency about Crossfire Hurricane, the Russian investigation, which led to the Mueller report that implicated the FBI, the DOJ, and the Biden administration, and likely the Obama administration. Joe Biden wanted to classify those documents, but he was unable to because they were not from his presidency without getting permission.
Okay, this is the important part, that Joe Biden wanted to retroactively classify what Trump had declassified. Okay?
From NARA, the National Archives. Joe Biden then asked for that permission. They granted that permission. And then Joe Biden declared every single document from Donald Trump's presidency to be classified because Donald Trump lost executive privilege over those documents. So when Biden and his regime says that they were not involved in the raid of Mar-a-Lago, not only were they involved, but they literally created the path for it to happen.
So
here's what happened.
I couldn't figure out, I don't want to blow your ears out there. I couldn't figure out how he could possibly be in trouble for either declassifying documents that were from his own administration or them just by nature of him taking them from the White House being declassified, because he has that authority. And I couldn't understand how they're coming after him with this case in Florida, which is about these documents. And I'm like, he has the absolute power to declassify. How are they now saying that this stuff is still classified? Because Biden went to NARA, well, I'm sure it wasn't Biden, whoever is his proxy, went to NARA and had all of this stuff retroactively classified so that they could create a loss. This has never been done before. Never has a president left office and then the new president come in and knowingly classified everything that they know that person declassified so that they could go after them legally. And so the Biden DOJ and the Biden administration have kept saying over and over and over again that that Trump didn't have the authority to declassify this stuff. And that's been the argument. But all along, that's been a lie. That's been a smokescreen. They knew he had the authority to declassify it. And so they couldn't do anything about these documents. So he went in and retroactively classified these documents so that he could then say that he took classified documents. Does that just blow your damn mind? The feds, the DOJ, everybody is in on that. And so when they say that the Biden administration doesn't have anything to do with these prosecutions, they are 100% lying, because this just got found out. Is there nothing that they will not do? It just makes me so mad. Anyway, there's that. And I hope he nails their asses to the wall. You know, what's funny is, and what's bad, I guess, is that conservatives don't have a huge appetite um, for lawfare. That act, so corrupt, right? They don't have a huge appetite for that. So that's why he didn't go after Hillary after all the lock it up chants, because he's like, you know what? I'll do this and everybody will like it at first. But as it drags on, and the media starts spinning it for the millions that it's costing to put her in jail, and that it probably wouldn't actually happen anyway, the American people don't have the stomach for it. We've got to have the stomach for it this time. We have to stand behind him while all of this drags out forever, while all of the press spins and spins and spins and makes it look like retaliation. No, it's not retaliation if it's actual justice, right? It has to be done. We cannot let these people continue doing this. And I don't know how far he'll get. I think it's going to take way longer than 4 years to do that. But this alone just went all over me. I could not believe it. I don't know why I couldn't believe it. It just never occurred to me that there would be a mechanism to take something that had been declassified by the sitting president at the time, wait till he leaves office, reclassify it so you can get him for taking classified documents. I mean, that's like going back in. This is kind of like what they did with changing the statute of limitations on the E. Jean Carroll thing. Well, generally what happens if you change the statute of limitations, that applies to every case from the date that law changes forward. It's not retroactive. You know, it's like building codes. So building codes, if they put in a new building code and your building is already built, you're exempt from that. You're grandfathered in. It's not retroactive. That's how people, get away with not having buildings that are up to the current code, because they're grandfathered in. You can't retroactively make something and then hold everybody to it. So that's what's going on there. I wanted to talk to you guys about Javier Milei because I love that guy. If you don't know, he's the president of Argentina. Politics is just theater to distract us. Well, no, it's not just theater to distract us, because it is actually impacting us. Laws are changing. The economy is in the shitter. It's theater would imply that it's not actually going on, that it's just a show, but it is actually going on. We are actually being hurt by this. They are actually exacting lawfare on President Trump through this crazy retroactive measure. They are changing laws to change statutes of limitation in the Stormy Daniels case, in the E. Jean Carroll case. It would only be theater if it wasn't actually happening, if it was just a show, but it is actually happening. So Milei announces Argentina's first budget surplus in 16 years. Argentina's spending-slashing new president, Javier Milei, has hailed his country's first quarterly budget surplus since 2008. How awesome is that? As an historic achievement. But when he took them, it wasn't. Right. They are making laws retroactive. You can't do that. It's very crazy, but Trump is actually benefiting. Oh, yeah. I mean, other than the millions he's spending on fighting it. Cats for, thank you for helping me get episode 8. I finally got it to play on YouTube. Awesome. I'm grateful for all the help. Well, Cats, I'm glad we got it sorted out, my friend. So in the first quarter of 2024, the South American country recorded a budget surplus of about 275 billion pesos, which is $309 million, he told the national TV. This is the first quarter with a financial surplus since 2008, said Milei, referring to his left-wing rival Cristina Kirchner's first year in the presidency. Milei, who took office in December, boasted of a feat of historic significance on a global scale. If the state does not spend more than it collects and does not issue money, meaning print money, there's no inflation. It's not magic. Milei won election last November. This is where they start spinning it, voting to reduce the deficit to zero, a target even more ambitious than required by the International Monetary Fund, with whom Argentina has a $44 billion loan. To that end, he has instituted an austerity program that has seen the government slash subsidies for transport fuel and energy. Why do you need to subsidize it? Even as annual inflation rates stand at 290% year on year. Do you know why the percentage annual inflation rate is 290%? Because they, before him, were printing money and expanding the government. And they did this and kept doing it, just like our government is doing it, until it crippled Argentina, and their inflation went to 290%. So yeah, it's going to be painful at the outset, because it's just like you guys. If you're overspending, right, and you've gotten used to that, you've bought a house that's more than you can afford, maybe you lost a job or something, or a car, the only way to fix it is to rein in the spending. And it hurts. And that's just the truth of it. And people have to be willing to stop having this stupid idea that it's not going to hurt. Of course it's going to hurt. We've been misspending for years. We have to get it in check. To that end, we got that part. Poverty levels have reached 60%, and wage earners have lost a fifth of their purchasing power. What they don't tell you is this has all happened up until now. They make it sound like this is under Malay's plan. No, this is where they were already at. Thousands of public servants have lost their jobs. Public servants. Okay. You mean public employees that were part of agencies that were completely unnecessary, that the citizens were having to pay for. It makes me so mad the way they spin it. Don't expect a way out through public spending, Malay warned on Monday. He's telling you, we have to live within our means. We cannot afford all of these. Public servants, i.e. employees, that are working in bullshit jobs that don't do anything to advance the needs of the people. It's just fluff. It's just this huge machine that has got to be trimmed down. Don't expect we already read that. University students backed by unions and opposition parties, of course, because who else would bitch and complain, have called a march for Tuesday to protest financing cuts to higher public education. I don't understand why the government should be funding public education. Why? Why should they be funding it? Why should we be funding that? I'm already going to have to pay their student loans back. Why now in Argentina, I think it's different. I think you can go to a 4-year college and it's covered. But they've cut some of the spending there. I'm guessing the kids that were taking, underwater basket weaving, those courses are not going to be paid for now. So they're going to have a protest because, of course, bitching and complaining is the best way to fix anything. Universities have declared a budgetary emergency after the government approved a 2024 budget, the same as the one for 2023, which would mean they didn't cut the budget. It's the same as it was last year. Despite inflation approaching 300% and a near 500% in energy costs, which was already happening. And that higher learning institutions say has brought them to their knees. Pay your administrators less, pay your professors less, make your students only take classes that they actually need instead of the stupid fluff education that we have. You don't need to take sociology to be a nurse. You just don't. To be a sociologist, you do. It's just nobody's actually fighting. Sophie's just insane. Are you on that? Sophie! Quit. Crazy animals. At that rate at which they are funding us, we can only function between 2 and 3 months. Okay, so if you want a higher education, you may have to pay for it. They're hard decisions. I'm not saying it's not hard. It is hard, but what do you want to do? I mean, people in this country are starving. It's ridiculous. And yes, higher education is great, but at some point, you have to be able to live within your means. And they didn't decrease the funding for the universities. It's the same as it was last year. So there we go. Bank of England rules Britain regardless. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I get the money changing, but there is lawfare on top of that. Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Gray. I know she hates you. Okay. So this one is, here we go. This is on Hamas. So here's what I didn't realize. We've been going back and forth on this Israel-Hamas thing. And I've said, it would be nice if they could avoid killing women and children. And apparently I didn't realize there had been 5 proposed peace treaties, ceasefires, and Hamas has killed every single one. They don't want it. And so this is the latest, right? So Israel said, look, if you'll return the hostages, we'll have a ceasefire. And Hamas said, we demand 100% Israeli withdrawal from the West Bank, 100% Israeli withdrawal from half of Jerusalem, including the entire Old City and the Jewish, Christian, and Muslim holy sites, and 100% right of return for 5 million Palestinians to Israel. If Israel accepts this, then we will have a ceasefire and a truce of 5 years or more. So just long enough for them to rebuild and attack again. Now I'm out. I'm out. You can't negotiate with people like this. How are you going to do that? We're going to give you everything that you want. Half of, what is it? 100% Israeli withdrawal, including the entire Old City and the Jewish, Christian, and Muslim holy sites. Entire withdrawal from the West Bank, 100% right of return for 5 million Palestinians to Israel. Then we'll give you a 5-year truce. So basically just long enough to rebuild and come back at you. As soon as Israel concedes everything, this is from Hamas, Hamas will transform itself into a normal political party, oh, I'm sure, and the Hamas militia will disband and become part of Palestine's national army. So not really disbanding, we're just moving them. And so the Associated Press headline, the spin for this was, Hamas official says group would lay down its weapons if a two-state solution is implemented. That is not at all what they said. It is not at all what they said. AJ, honey, I get it. I can't debate with you if you think everything isn't real. There are some real things going on. Are there other things at play? Absolutely, without question. Is there a bunch of secret BS going on? I am absolutely sure of it. But we cannot conduct our lives on, that's not real, that's a movie. You just can't. We have to actually have policies. I respect your right to have your opinion. I just disagree. Their demands are ridiculous. See, they don't want a ceasefire. They don't want to return the hostages. They want the borders to go to 1967, which is a fragmented Israel. Right. So this is the thing, is they're like, from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free, by virtue of getting all of the Jews out. Okay, well, they're not going to agree to that. I wouldn't agree to that. If there was some big conflict going on in my own neighborhood and they're like, okay, well, and they've got hostages over there, and they're like, okay, well, here's what we'll do. If you give us most of what you've got and you all leave and bring all the Palestinians back, and we'll take our terrorist organization and just put it into our national army, and then for 5 years we won't come at you. There's absolutely no way I would agree to that. I'm like, no, I'm not stupid. So there's that. Good grief. Okay. And then here's the thing with the kids at the schools. So I'm seeing all of these protests, and now the police are getting involved, and everybody's screaming about free speech and whatever. I'm so over it, you guys. I'm so over it. I'm so over these college kids blocking roads and bridges. I'm over them. If they want to tear down the university, let them do it. I don't care. Just build a big wall around it and just let them do whatever they want. Because ultimately what they want is for us to pay their student loans. And if there's no college, then there's no student loans for me to repay, and I'm done. If you think that all of this is so good, go there and help. Do something. This protesting doesn't actually do anything to help the people of Palestine. It doesn't do anything to bring a peaceful resolution of what's going on. It's just inconveniencing and obnoxious to the rest of us. You want us to pay for your student loans, but now Columbia has canceled classes for the rest of the school year. You got to do it online. Well, what if you paid tuition for your kid to go there? And now your kid can't actually go there because he's Jewish and he might have an act of violence taken out against him. So this is Ilhan Omar, of course. Sitting member of U.S. Congress, Ilhan Omar, joins the illegal encampment protest at Columbia yesterday. How can they let this Hamas sympathizer waltz in all cheerful while a Jewish professor has been denied entry? This situation is a complete echo of Nazi Germany. It is. You guys, we have to look at history and recognize when it's repeating itself. And the thing is, they're not helping their cause by doing this. Maybe so, but they're controlled opposition that has demands that we can't meet and shouldn't meet. That's my point. Okay, so now I think I've just got fun stuff for you. Let me make sure I don't have anything. Yeah, this is it. Now that I've totally bummed you out for over an hour, now we got fun stuff. Okay, so in honor of the evil patriarchy, when we're done. Isn't that awesome? I love that. I'm like, that's the stuff that dads bring to the table, this sense of adventure and building a ramp for your toddler, basically. And just the look on that kid's face. And I'm like, that is a dad son moment, or daughter, I don't know. Men are important. Men contribute incredible things to this society. And I will not participate in the beating up of them. Are there some bad guys out there? Yes. There's bad women out there too. Let's not focus on them. Let's focus on the good. That's all I'm saying about that. But I just thought that was incredible. All right. The next thing is on acrobats. And I so respect this because I can pull a muscle sleeping. I don't know if it's because I'm almost 54, but seriously, I can sneeze or cough and like hurt my shoulder and have it be messed up for 4 days. Be wearing a TENS unit, putting the icy hot on there, all this stuff. These people are freaking incredible. Watch this. Isn't that crazy? I mean, the height that she gets is insane. I just love that. And I like to entertain this idea that if I worked at it, I could get in that kind of shape and do that. SL, please talk to Jesus. You know what, SL, my email is in the description section. So if you want to, you don't have to. I'll just pray for your general welfare. If you don't, but if you email me, you can tell me specifically what you need to pray for or need prayer for, and I will specifically pray for you. But aside from that, if you don't want to do that, I will pray for your general welfare. All right. The next one is a guy at a baseball game who promised he would not embarrass his girlfriend. And he needs to dump that girl. He needs to be with a woman who can appreciate his dancing skills and his showmanship, because this guy does a dance to Moni Moni that you will not soon forget. Okay, we have to watch one more time. There's a reason that I screen recorded them twice, because once just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. Shoot 'em down, turn around, come on, Moni. Hey, just give me love and I'll feel alright now. You gotta toss and turn and feel alright. Feel alright. I say yeah. God, you make me feel so good, so good, so good, so fine. Shame on his girlfriend for not totally thinking this is the greatest guy ever. I think he probably planned it out for the ball game, but I mean, it's just a short from YouTube, which I'm sure they'll copyright me for my show there. But I don't understand why all of you can go to YouTube and you can watch it, but I can't show it here. It's just silly. So I'll never get any funding on YouTube because I do stuff like this. Okay, the next one is a mashup, and the guy who does these, hold on, that's great. You find the best things. I tried. The guy that does these, and I always put their names so that you guys can follow them, if you can see that. Okay, so this is a little mashup.
Boy, you made a huge mistake!
I'm a gyrating, pollinating son of a bee.
Wait for my command, Private, and then give him the bird.
What do you have?
It's my leg.
What's that?
It's swollen.
What is it?
It's a piece of bread. Boy, you made a huge mistake!
I'm a gyrating, pollinating son of a bee.
Wait for my command, Private, and then give him the bird.
What do you have?
It's my leg.
What's that?
It's swollen.
What is it?
It's a piece of bread.
It's my leg. It's swollen. The guy who does these is Dusty M. Douglas on YouTube. Dusty M. Douglas. Or maybe that's Twitter. I don't know where it comes from. But the dog at the end is my favorite, where he's like, what do you have? It's my leg. It's swollen. It's such good stuff. All right, the next one. That one's so good. Maybe I'll save that one for the end. Okay, this one is so good.
Baby, one thing about me is everybody know I'm super with a good coochie, so I always make a lot of money.
That's amazing. I didn't know that about you.
What do you know?
That you're a musician. But that's why I'm interviewing you today, so I can get to know you.
So I'm a musician. Mm-hmm. What the fuck that mean? Make magic or something? What is musician?
I think you're confusing that.
Yeah, I'm not no musician. I make music. And that's not all I do. I make music, I act. I'm a TV star too, a young mogul.
Just really quick, I think you're confusing.
I'm not confusing nothing because you don't know. You thought that all I was a magician or whatever the fuck you said.
See, that's what I think you think I said. No, I said musician, not magician.
I don't think, baby. I don't think. What is that? That's ghetto. I don't think. I know.
So you
think.
I didn't say magician, Suki. I said musician. And I think you are a musician.
No, baby. I do music.
So you just really quick, for the record, could you say you don't think you're a musician?
I'm not none of that.
But then after that, you just said I do music.
Yeah, I do music.
So, in other words, you're a musician.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Great. This is me fighting with the people on Twitter this week. So you think pregnancy is going to kill you? Yes. So wouldn't it be safer to get a sterilization than to keep getting pregnant over and over again and having abortions? No, baby. I don't think that's clear. Yes, it was the best thing she said. She's like, I don't think that's ghetto. Thinking is ghetto? I guess in an age where everything is racist, thinking is ghetto. Okay, this one, I don't know. I don't know if this is real, but living in Kentucky, I kind of think it might be because I've seen stuff like this, like in real life, in the wild. OMG Wolf. Okay, here we go. This one's called Effing Rodney.
This message is for Rodney, okay? Listen up, all right? You blocked us both on Facebook, and you blocked us on Instagram and TikTok, okay? Now listen, I want all of our friends and family to share this because he thought that's the last he saw of us. Guess again, okay? You gonna break her heart? I'm gonna break your jaw, Rodney. Okay? I ain't messing around. I'm looking for you.
You was at the casino all night with Tracy. I know you was.
He was.
And I'll get my an alert on my phone that says, all your SSI check is gone.
He took it and he spent it.
He
Crystal.
spent it all night with this gal.
And tell him what he did.
I said, hey, Rodney, you need to get the heck on out of here.
She called it quits, broke up with him.
And then he kicks my freaking curio cabinet.
Okay? Here's the deal. She loves her little figurines. Okay? Show him the one that he broke. Show him what. Let me have it. This is her favorite little figurine. Look at the little eyes. Look at the little eyes. Rodney was leaving, broke off its tail. The tail curled up. He fucking broke it.
There's the tail.
Look at the little tail.
He
broke that.
Glued back.
It cannot be glued
back.
He didn't just leave with respect when she ended the relationship. He had to kick over her churro cabinet and broke 3 of her figurines. My grandma gave this to her a week before she died. Okay? This is your favorite
He
figurine.
broke my little precious moments one with the little girl that was praying and had her head down.
And he thinks he can block us, and then he ain't got to deal with us. Well, guess what, Rodney? I went to your mom's house because I knew that's where you'd be, and you weren't. She said she hadn't seen you. Number 1, I think she was fucking lying. Number 2, I'll whip her ass too.
And please, everybody, share this on a Facebook.
I wanted to see it.
Everywhere. Anywhere you can share it on a GoFundMe.
My blood's boiling. My blood's boiling.
Blood bowling.
You know what? I got something for you, Rodney. Here, Crystal, hold that. Hold that, Crystal. I got something for you. Hold that up for me. Okay? I got something for you. I got 2 things for you. Okay? Right here. Tanya Tucker and Conway Tweedy. Okay?
Right. What the absolute hell is going on there? My blood's bowling. It's bowling. Just can't. Oh my! And the hair of the girl. I don't remember what her name was. In the background is just. I think we should watch it again. It's worth it. Hang on.
This message is for Rodney. Okay? Listen up. All right? You blocked us both on Facebook, and you blocked us on Instagram and TikTok. Okay? Now listen. I want all of our friends and family to share this because he thought that's the last he saw of us. Guess again. Okay? You gonna break her heart? I'm gonna break your jaw, Rodney. Okay? I ain't messing around. I'm looking for you.
You was at the casino all night with Tracy. I know you was.
He was.
And I get an alert on my phone that says, all your SSI check is gone.
He took it and he spent it,
He
Crystal.
spent it all night with
Okay?
this gal.
And tell him what he did.
I said, hey, Rodney, you need to get the heck on out of here.
She called it quits, broke up with him.
And then he kicks my freaking curio cabinet.
Okay? Here's the deal. She loves her little figurines. Okay? Show him the one that he broke. Show him let me have it. This is her favorite little figurine. Look at the little eyes. Look at the little eyes. Rodney was leaving, broke off its tail. The tail curled up. He fucking broke it.
There's the tail.
Look at the little tail. He
It
broke
cannot
that.
be glued back. It cannot be glued back.
He didn't just leave with respect when she ended the relationship. He had to kick over her churro cabinet and broke 3 of her figurines. My grandma gave this to her a week before she died. Okay? This is your favorite
He
figurine.
broke my little precious moments one with the little girl that was praying and had her head down.
And he thinks he can block us, and then he ain't got to deal with us. Well, guess what, Rodney? I went to your mom's house because I knew that's where you'd be, and you weren't. She said she hadn't seen you. Number 1, I think she was fucking lying. Number 2, I'll whip her ass too.
And please, everybody, share this on a Facebook.
I wanted to see it.
Everywhere. Anywhere you can share it on a GoFundMe.
My blood's boiling. My blood's boiling. You know what? I got something for you, Rodney. Here, Crystal. Hold that. Hold that, Crystal. I got something for you. Hold that up for me. Okay? I got something for you. I got 2 things for you. Okay? Right here. Tanya Tucker and Conway Tweedy. Okay.
And it looks like Kentucky in the background. You all, I know you're like, they didn't break character, but I got to tell you, I mean, I have seen this sort of thing in Kentucky. This is not unusual. The fact that they record me very afraid, Rodney, brother, I don't know what's going on with you, but get the hell out of Kentucky because she's coming for you, man. And what is with that hair? And you know what? I would say it's fake, but okay, so I'll tell you a story. So one time at band camp, just kidding. One time we had this guy in the ICU and old, like 90, so maybe 89, 90, something like that, right? And he had been out. He had been a smoker since he was 7 and smoked packs and packs a day. And he had been out push mowing his 5-acre lawn. Now, and what was so funny was, and he loved these Little Debbie snack cakes, right? And so the cardiologist, because he was in for a heart attack, the cardiologist wanted him to not get these Little Debbie snack cakes. And I'm like, look, he's 90 years old. He was push mowing his own 5-acre lawn. I think this man may have found the recipe for longevity, and we should just leave him alone and let him be happy. And so he would get so upset about these cakes, right, that he wanted these cakes. When she said, I have 2 things for you, I thought she was going to lift her shirt. Rodney's not getting the titties. Come on now. Don't be crazy. So this guy slipped into a coma. So so first, when he came in, when he had the heart attack, they had coded him and he had urinated in his clothing. And so we had that clothing in a bag to go home and be washed. So when his family finally shows up, and they're from out of state and they're nieces and stuff, he doesn't have children. They show up, the first family member that shows up, I say, hey, he was incontinent when he had the heart attack, and they come in from Ohio or something. And his clothes need to be washed. So would you mind to take those home and do them? Because they've been sitting in this bag. And so she says, yes. Well, then the other family from Kentucky gets there and loses it because this niece had taken home. Well, that's just like her to try and take his stuff. I mean, he's not even dead yet. And they're taking his stuff. And I'm like, well, wait, no, he had urinated on that when he coded. And so it needed to be, oh, no, that's not why she took it. And it just escalated and escalated and escalated. So this guy is in a coma. That little mouse head ball. So Debbie. Something I never thought I'd hear Debbie say. So dope. So he's in a coma, right? And I'm in his room one day and I'm charting, and we had physical charting. And so I'm writing on this chart, and his heart rate's in the 20s. I mean, I'm like, he's actively dying here. And so I'm sitting there, I'm charting. All of a sudden, this man pops up out of this coma, sits straight up in the bed and yells, "Where's my cakes?" And I'd be lying if I said I didn't pee a little. He scared the crap out of me. I really thought he was done for, right? So now he's awake, and the family's all here. And now this uncle that they never visited, they suddenly love, right? And he's got property, he's got the 5 acres or whatever with like a trailer on it. He tells me this, he's got a TV tray stand that holds his little television that he's got. These people are fighting over this guy's belongings. So they come in the ICU one day that he's there, and we've got an agency nurse working, and the agency nurse is like, you're going to have to go out. We were coding somebody in a different room. And in this little ICU of like 6 beds, if we're coding somebody, all the visitors have to leave just for patient privacy because the door's open and, there's all kinds of stuff going on. It's traumatic too. And we don't need to be worrying about visitors while we're coding people. And so this nurse was trying to tell them, you guys are going to have to step out into the waiting room, which they had moved into with sleeping bags, crock pots, guitars. I'm not lying. And so they don't want to, we had told them, like, you can't have crock pots in here. It's a waiting room. A little kid could pull it over and get hurt. This is the culture in some of these little hospitals, you guys, in these little towns. And so this agency nurse is trying to tell them they need to step out, that she'll come out and get them once we've got this other patient stabilized. And they shove her up against the wall and they get ready to hit her. And so we call security and get them out. Well, it turned out that housekeeping had been to the ICU waiting room and told them they were going to have to clear out the sleeping bags. They couldn't be sleeping there. Like, these people, I don't know if they've got jobs, but in little town Kentucky, in this particular hospital, and we get outlying counties in, they just move in. Like, if you've got a room with 2 beds in it, they'll move into that other bed and they'll start asking you for stuff. Where's my dinner? Where's my soda? I'm like, this isn't the Hilton. This is a hospital. You're not a patient. Get out of that bed. I may need that bed for another patient. But this is, you see a lot of this. And so they've moved in, and the housekeeper is telling them they've got to get their sleeping bags up off the floor, that there are other people visiting patients in the ICU and there needs to be some room for them. And, if they want to play the guitar, that's fine. but they got to get the crock pots out. And so they're fighting with her about getting the crock pots out. She's like, you can go home and eat. Your dad's or your uncle's nurse will call if there's a change, and then you could come back or do it in shifts, however you want to do it. And so they corner this housekeeper, and the lady goes to swing at her, and the housekeeper dodges her head, and then she swings at her and hits her, and the housekeeper hits her back, and they fired the housekeeper. And all of the nurses were just in this huge uproar because she had already tried to assault a nurse. And now she had assaulted the housekeeper. And the housekeeper, this is how medicine is. Like, you're not allowed to defend yourself. If someone tries to punch you in the face, you are not allowed to hit them back no matter what. And it's just crazy. But yeah, they ended up firing that lady. And the guy ended up going on to the local nursing home where all of this fighting continued. And he ended up not dying. So I remember telling him before we discharged him to the extended care, I said, you need to get somebody in. You need to write down your wishes and get them notarized, because he's like, I know it. They all just want my stuff. They want my land, a little bit of property I got, and they want my TV tray. And they already said they want my TV. My gosh, this poor guy. And all he wants is his cakes. And so I had brought him in his little Debbie snack cakes. And I'm like, we have to hide these in the drawer, because if your cardiologist comes in and sees that I brought you your oatmeal cream pies, there's going to be hell to pay for me. But it was so funny because he didn't really have anything. And these people weren't even really family to him. They had nothing to do with him until he was going to die. And that's actually not all that uncommon. But we see a lot of this kind of stuff in the ER. Okay, so I got to show you this. I'm just going to set this up for you. This is an emu. I think it's an emu. And you know how they get all crazy and run? And this is that same guy who did the video with the dog eating the bread that said his arm was swollen. He does really good narration of animal stuff.
Oh my! That was a gunshot!
Kenneth.
Everyone get your heads down!
Kenneth.
That was a drive-by attempt, Frank!
Kenneth, that was a neighbor's car backfiring.
They're coming for the eggs!
Kenneth!
They're coming for the eggs!
Rewind.
Oh my! That was a gunshot!
Kenneth.
Everyone get your heads down!
Kenneth.
That was a drive-by attempt, Frank!
Kenneth, that was a neighbor's car backfiring.
They're coming for the eggs!
Kenneth!
They're coming for the eggs! Oh my! That was a gunshot!
Kenneth.
Everyone get your heads down!
Kenneth.
That was a drive-by attempt, Frank!
Kenneth, that was a neighbor's car backfiring.
They're coming for the eggs!
Kenneth!
They're coming for the eggs!
That is hysterical. They're coming for the eggs. They're coming for the eggs. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. We were watching Dateline, I think, the other night, and this guy was poisoning his wife with thallium. I'm like, that's creative. I'd never heard of that. And I told him, I said, when I worked up at the hospital in ICU, we had a patient that was in ICU that we had moved down to the floor, med-surg, and she was getting sicker and sicker, and they had called us and said, hey, we're probably going to be transferring her back up to you guys. And, so like, okay, we're trying to figure out who we can shuffle out of the ICU who's stable enough to move. And they tell us that her husband won't be allowed to visit. And I'm like, well, no, he can visit. He's just got to come during the ICU visiting hours. I said, just let him know what Dusty M. Douglas, thank you, on Instagram. So I'm telling him, she can visit, thinking maybe I'm talking to a new nurse or something. And she's like, no, I'm telling you, her husband is not allowed to visit. I said, really? Why? And she said, because we figured out he's poisoning her. So she had been really sick at home, and she had come into the hospital, and she would get better. And then every time he would come and visit, she would get violently ill. So I don't know if the doctor thought of it or who thought of it. But they put her under surveillance. They moved her to one of the seizure rooms. So we have these rooms for people who are having seizures so that we can monitor them on camera and actually see what this seizure looks like, so we can get an idea of what's going on. Do this a lot with kids too. And when they moved her to the seizure room, they did not tell them that it was a monitored room. And they caught him slipping stuff in whatever she was drinking. And so that's how they got him. But it was just crazy because I'd had situations in the hospital like where a parent was the reason the child was in the hospital. They'd broken their arm or leg or something. And so we had to keep the parents out. But I had never had somebody like secretly poisoning their spouse. And I was and the woman couldn't believe it. She was so upset and she wanted him to be able to visit, and she was fighting with the hospital staff. Well, this reminded me of when my mast cell disorder was so bad and I kept going into respiratory failure. So I was in a little hospital just south of here, and they could not figure out what was going on. Why did I keep going into respiratory failure and anaphylaxis? And they said, well, are you intentionally eating things that would cause you to go into anaphylaxis? And I'm like, no, it's not anything we can figure out. I've had all this allergy testing done. I can eat something one day and be fine and eat it the next day and have a reaction like this. And so they didn't believe that. They thought maybe I was doing it. So they were really strictly watching my diet. And I'm like, I've got all the allergy testing. I can show it to you. We can't find anything I'm really, truly anaphylactically allergic to. It's some autoimmune thing. So then they became convinced that somebody in my family was poisoning me. So nobody was allowed to bring food. And my dad got so mad. He came up to visit and he brought these brookies, which is like a brownie and a cookie. And he wasn't allowed to give it to me. And they wouldn't tell him why. And so he comes into the room and I'm like, it's because they think one of you all are poisoning me. And of course, nobody was poisoning me. I just had a mast cell disorder. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys tonight. We only went an hour and a half. But when the content's done, it's done. We will be back on Wednesday for episode 9 of Heaven Stormed, and that is at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. And we'll be finishing it on Wednesday. And then I'm looking at maybe starting Huck Finn. I've had several requests for Huck Finn. I'm going to see how many times the N-word plays in there and kind of pray on that. I'm always really careful if a text uses that word, but if it was historically accurate at the time, and I think it portrays the kind of racism that Black people endured in that day, I won't sugarcoat it and I will say the word. And I've not gotten any flack for that so far, so we'll see. Did they figure the mask problem out? I actually figured it out, which is ridiculous. I was reading up and researching like what could cause you to just keep going into anaphylaxis with, it's called idiopathic, because idiopathic means we don't know why, we can't find the cause. And hi, Vicki, did you get my email? I emailed you, love. So from my Gmail account, from Witthealth. So I was reading, and I'm like, look, guys, I think this could be a mast cell disorder because it comes on suddenly. You have this out of the blue anaphylaxis that nobody can figure out. And I finally figured it out, presented that to the doctors, and then they figured out that's what I had. You visited Hannibal, Missouri. Did you go see Pope Smokes? Isn't he a chef there? I'll write you this weekend for the book suggestions too. Oh, yes. Thank you for that, Summer. No, I'll check. Yeah, check. I sent you an email. I'm thinking it was just a misunderstanding. You'll understand when you read it. Steve is in here. I don't know if I could get a picture of him. Hold on. He's so pitiful. He's so starved for attention since we've taken in Mr. Gray. Hold on. He's got his head on these 2 little boxes that I put my mirror on to put my makeup on because we've got really good light in here. I don't know if you can see him. He's like, I give up. I'm never going to get any attention. But anyway, we'll be back on Wednesday at 10:30. I've got my youngest son's wedding next weekend. That's pretty exciting. And then all the grandkids are coming in, so I'll be with all of them for the weekend. I think we probably will still do a Friday night show. I'll decide that by Wednesday. It just depends on how busy things are with everybody being in town. But I'll let you know by Wednesday if we're going to do a Friday show next week. If not, I'll probably just back it up and do it a different day. We won't cancel it altogether. But yeah, so pray for my son, and his name is Jacob, and his fiancée Jessica, because they'll be tying the knot. They've been together for quite a while. They'll be tying the knot on Saturday. That's so exciting. It's also my brother's birthday, and the next day is my oldest son's birthday. So it's going to be a really busy weekend. So we'll see how we do. Let me close us out in prayer. Who was it that asked me to pray for her needs specifically? Was it SL? Hold on, I'll find it. Give me a little second. SL. All right. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day and for my Rumble family here. It's just so fun to spend time with them and just drink some wine and relax and kind of go through the happenings of the week and some funny stuff. And I just thank you so much for giving me this platform and giving me an opportunity to try and bless other people and bring information. And we would just pray for everybody who has been blinded and cannot see the truth. We pray that you would lift that veil, because it's really important for us to be able to move things forward, that everybody understands what's going on. And I know there are always going to be things hidden that we don't see, that we can't affect, but just so that we could all see and affect the things that we can. Father, we pray for SL's unspoken need, whatever is going on in that viewer's life. I pray that you would be right there and helping to resolve that and bringing comfort through the process. Father, we also have the people that are on our prayer list on Wednesdays, and I would pray for every concern on that list. And thank you so much for the things that you've already resolved that were prayer requests on that list. It just means the world to us that you are a personal God who loves us and who does act in our lives. We thank you most of all for your son, Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen. There was something else I was going to tell you guys. Don't send me a message on Facebook. I don't do Facebook. Do the email. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you guys. Thank you, Enlighten. And Enlighten, we didn't have any trouble in here tonight. So apparently they weren't mad enough to stalk me. Yeah, if you're sending me messages on Facebook, I will never see them. I don't have Facebook Messenger and I don't do Facebook. I stream to Facebook, but that's it. I don't get on there. In the description section is my email address. If you need something, you need specific prayer, that's where you find me. If my website is in there, so if you want to go to the website, there's a link there, or like a document that you can download if you're struggling with COVID or any respiratory virus. It's got all the treatments for that in it that are over the counter. There's also my PayPal, my Cash App, and my Venmo. If you would like to financially support the show, we really, really appreciate it. We are not breaking even yet, so I think we had like $8,300 in expenses from the show that were unmet last year when we did our taxes. So if you are donating, thank you so much. If you want to donate, we really appreciate that, and it does help so that we don't have to pay to do the show, that we actually break even. If you pray for the show and pray for me and my family, thank you so much for that. That means the world to me, that you would take even 10 seconds out of your day to throw up a prayer for me and my family. That's just, it's important. And it's important that we do that for each other, and know that I do pray for you guys. That's all I've got. Let me make sure I didn't miss any comments. You had your chance to vent. Now let it go. Oh yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to bring attention to the craziness that is feminism. I mean, it's nuts. Yeah, I've just been blocking all the comments now as they come in, because I've realized you can't talk sense to certain people, sadly enough. But anyway, that's all I've got. I will see you guys on Wednesday morning at 10:30. I'll give you an update on what's going to go down for Friday. And until then, Nurse Penny out. Much love, guys.